There are many successful logos that use handwritten type. With handwritten type, you can convey a personal, informal feel. A handwritten signature logo can also convey authenticity, and because it is unique, it's preferable to using an off-the-shelf script typeface. Here are 3 approaches to creating a handwritten logo. The first involves using the brush tool to actually paint the logo in Illustrator. Here's my first attempt. Let's delete that and try again. From my brushes panel, from my brush libraries, I'll come and choose this one. It's the 6D Art Brush Medium 17 point. And then I'll just experiment with that. And after a while, you'll probably get a sense of where you want your descender to be and your baseline, your X height, and the cap height. So if that's just a little bit too idiosyncratic, I'll draw some guides and then try again. If I like that, and let's just say for the purposes of demonstration that I do, then I can select it. Perhaps I might want to come and just make a few variations to the angle of the brush, possibly the size of the brush and its roundness. I'll apply those to the strokes. And then from the path menu, I will choose outline stroke to make it all into fills. And then from my Pathfinder panel, I will unite all those shapes into one. So that's the first attempt. The second attempt involves image tracing a sketch. On my layers panel, on the image trace layer, if I open that one up, you can see that beneath that image, I have a sketch. So now let's try tracing this again. This was just created with pencil and gone over with a Sharpie, photographed on a phone, and then placed in Illustrator. I'll select it, choose Image Trace, come to my tracing options, make sure that Ignore White is turned on, and everything else I think I pretty much want to leave as is. To now edit those vectors, I'll expand, and I might need to just come in with my eraser tool and fix up a few things here and there. If I wanted the letters to be a little bit fatter than they are, I could come to my path, offset the path. I'm going to offset it by 1 pixel. That's going to create an interior shape. I'll then swipe over that to select everything, come once again to my Pathfinder, unite all of that into one. And then in this example, I feel there are just too many anchor points, way too many anchor points. I'm going to try and simplify it by coming to Path and Simplify. And let's see, how low can we go before we start messing it up? I'm going to go with 96%, and you'll see that about cuts the number of anchor points by 1/4. Now, thirdly, and I think most successfully, I'll turn off those guides that I drew because they're now distracting. I'll also come and turn off the brushed layer. Rather than image tracing that sketch, I hand trace the sketch. The sketch was very rough, and hand tracing it allows me to improve upon it as I go, control the number of anchor points, and just make the whole thing a bit more uniform. So here is the sketch. I'm going to convert it to a template layer, which will dim it to 50%, then create a new layer above it for my paths. I'll tear off my pen tools, make sure I am working with no fill and a black stroke. I'll put a very limited number of anchor points down, just creating straight line segments. I'll create each letter separately to begin with. Now switching to my anchor point tool, I will introduce curves and do my best to keep those curves perpendicular. I'm holding down the Shift key as I drag them. In addition, I can pull on the path segments themselves. Using my direct selection tool, I'll select the endpoints and make sure that the letters actually join. And continuing in this fashion, I will end up with outlined letters like these. You can see that I've intentionally deviated from the sketch. I can now go in a few different directions. Perhaps I'll apply a brush stroke. And if I want to edit that brush stroke, I can come to its options, possibly change its size or angle. Or I'll just undo that, I can increase the stroke weight. And in this case, I'm going to go up to 4.5 point. In addition to which, I could use the width tool and possibly just decide to widen or narrow the stroke at certain points on the letters. I should point out that the stroke has a round cap on it. And then finally, I'll come to Object and Path and outline the stroke. That's going to make that all into a fill as opposed to stroked paths. And then I can incorporate all the areas of overlap using the Pathfinder.